There we go. Boom. All right, we are live. Let's just doing some testing before we go live. And test the sound. Today we're going to talk about the dependent care credit. So we're going to wait a couple of seconds before we can go live. And look, we got some excellent drawing back here. We were trying to draw, so we are very happy. So we are talking about the dependent care credit today, and you'll see it there in the screen in a couple of minutes. The dependent care credit, as you're filing your taxes with IOOGO tax, you need to understand how this credit works. So we'll go through this process very, very quickly. I'm trying to keep this podcast in very short, 20 minutes maybe, the most. So if you have questions, drop them in the. I know some people have sent questions to us after the recording. That's great. It's excellent. But today, the main emphasis of today is the main topic is child and dependent care credits. And how do you put that into the system? How will IOOGO tax do the calculations for you? So if you never use a DIY product or do-it-yourself product, then you are probably wondering, how am I going to do this, right? How am I going to enter this information? So remember, everybody, doesn't matter who they are, whether it is your CPA, your tax preparer, myself, your brother, we use the same tax law. So the system takes the information that I enter or you enter, and it calculates that information for you, and it gives you a result. So there's nothing magical that I, as an enroll agent, is doing, or your CPA is doing. We're just entering information into the system. And now, some of us use systems that will go directly into the form because it's a lot easier because we're professionals. You are using a system like IOOGO Tax that takes you through step-by-step process, and you don't have to go directly to the form. This is where you don't have to be a professional to file your taxes. You can just enter the information. And we're going to show you how to do that here later today. But we'll go back to the main point, that is child and dependent care expenses. So let's go one by one. There's only 2 or 3 things that we're going to talk about. I'm sorry, there's 3 or 4 things that we're going to talk about, but I want you to understand how this works, right? The first thing that you need to know about the dependent care credit is that it's a non-refundable credit. So if you've been following my series, then you know that there are refundable credits and non-refundable credits. And as you know, it's self-explanatory, right? Non-refundable means that you'll never get the cash. You're not gonna get the cash. So how is that gonna work? Well, if you owe taxes at the end of the year, so if you did not pay enough taxes throughout the year, these credits are going to help you pay down those taxes. So this is one of those non-refundable credits that is meant to help you pay down taxes. So, but you never see the cash in your hands or in your bank account. So that's the first thing you need to understand. So as we move forward, we talk about who can claim the credit, right? So who can claim the credit? Can everybody claim this credit? No, not everyone can claim the credit. You have to be in a certain filing status, and you have to meet certain requirements to claim the credit. So number 1, married couples can claim the credit, and single with dependents can claim the credit. So when I say single with dependents, I'm talking about, for those of you who have filed their own taxes before, you understand what the term is. I'm talking about the head of household filing status, right? So you married couples and head of households can claim this credit. So if you're divorced you're claiming, you're filing your tax return as someone who is divorced, or maybe you're separated and you're married, separated, you cannot claim this credit. If you are single, you cannot claim this credit, right? Because you don't have any children, right? You don't have any dependents. So anyway, so let's talk about who can claim this credit, and let's understand that it is not for everybody. It's for this filing status that I've mentioned, and you have to be very careful, right? Because you can tell the system one thing, and the system will give you feedback and say, hey, maybe you shouldn't claim this credit because you are single, and now you understand why the system is telling you that, right? Because the law says that if you're single and you don't have any dependents, you cannot take any credit. So it kind of makes sense, right? So it's very obvious, right? If I don't have any dependents, then I'm not going to try to claim this credit. So let's go to the next qualifier, which is the fact that you have to be working or looking for work. So working or looking for work. Why does the IRS give you a credit? Why will they give you a credit if just because you have kids or dependents, right? I keep saying kids, but in reality it's dependents. It could be your elder dependent, your elder mom, your elder grandmother, right? Why would the IRS give you credits just because? Well, here is the main factor of why you should be claiming this credit, and it's because either you're working or you're looking for work. And the fact that you're working and you're having to take your kids to a daycare, then that is generating a certain expense for you. So now you can, when you're doing your taxes, you can claim the expenses of this credit. So if you're not working, you cannot claim this credit, right? So there's been some situations where people get creative. They try to get creative with when it comes to tax time, and dad works, mom doesn't work, and they try to say that they try to say that mom is the daycare facility, and that she received the payments, and that let's go ahead and try to claim this credit because mom is watching the kids. It doesn't work that way. You have to have a legal claim. So when you're doing your taxes and you're in IOOGO tax, you're going to have to tell IOOGO tax who provided the service, whether it was a daycare or a person. If it's a daycare, you're going to have to provide the information for the daycare. If it's a person, you're going to have to provide the information, which includes the social security or ITIN number for this person. And you're going to have to provide address and name and how much money did you pay that person or that entity for the services, right? So it's not just a simple claim that you can do. But when you're in IOOGO tax is going to ask you all that information, and just basically copy and paste from the information that was provided to you, right? So I'll give you one example. My mom will watch my kids, and we'll pay her $100 a week to watch my kids, and at the end of the year, if I want to claim those $3,000-$4,000 that I paid her to watch my kids, then I would need her social security number, her name, her address, so I can make the claim. The IRS wants to know who did you pay that money to, so we can go tax them as well. So that's something that you're going to be able to do in IOOGO tax in a matter of seconds. IOOGO tax will calculate your credit if you qualify for. All right, let's move on and let's go into the dollar limit. And there is a dollar limit when it comes to expenses, right? So how much money can I claim in expenses for the dependent care credit? How much money? And it's very simple. You can claim up to $3,000 for the first kid in expenses. That's not your credit. It's not your credit. It's the expenses. So how much money can I claim? Well, if you have one kid, you can claim up to $3,000 in daycare expenses, or up to $6,000 for 2 or more kids. So if you have 3 kids, up to $6,000. If you have 4 kids, up to $6,000, right? So that the max is is $6,000 if you have more than one kid. So those are the actual limits. And from the expenses, the IRS is going to calculate generally anywhere from 0 to 30% of your expenses, right? So when they calculate my credit, they're going to say, okay, if you had one kid and you spent $3,000, then your credit's going to be anywhere from 0 to 30% based on your income. Is that confusing? Let's do it one more time. The IRS says that because you have one kid and you spent $3,000 in expenses for the dependent care, then the IRS will calculate based on your income how much credit you get, and it goes anywhere from 0 to 30% of your expenses, right? So like if you let's take it to the max, right? If you had 30% of $3,000 is what, $900, right? So that would be your non-refundable credit. IOOGO Tax will do the math for you. You don't have to worry about doing the math. IOOGO Tax will take all the information and it's going to ask you, number one, how much money did you spend? Number two, how much money did you spend per child, right? And then you're going to say, hey, I spent $3,000 for this one child. Perfect. And then IOOGO Tax will take the law and in a matter of seconds will calculate the credit for you. All right, based on how much you earned and how much you spent, here's your credit. Simple as that. The explanation is longer because you have to understand how it works. And why do you have to understand? Not because you want to be a tax preparer or a CPA, right? Or enroll agent like me. No, you want to understand because you signed your tax return. You signed those claims. And whenever you go to someone who calls themselves a tax pro and they commit fraud, and you will try to tell the IRS, well, I didn't know what was happening. The IRS is going to say, hey, the law says that you sign, so it's your problem, and you are fully liable for what you signed because you spend the money, right? Because they gave you the credit. So you should have known, you should have paid attention, right? The IRS sometimes acts as if all of us understand taxes. And this is why we're doing this cast, because it's tax season already, and we want to make sure that you're not getting into trouble out there, and also that you're not missing some of these credits, right? Because you go to certain tax pros who just got their number this morning and just bought the software this morning, so they just got their cards, their business cards printed this morning, so they're setting up shop and they know nothing about the law. So you know what? IOOGO Tax will help you make sure that you don't miss any of your credits. We maximize your credits within a matter of minutes. We maximize your deductions within a matter of minutes. So if you know how to use a computer, if you have basic computer skills, you should know, you know how to do your taxes. If you're watching me on Facebook, you know how to do your taxes. You can follow the same steps just like any tax preparer does. All right, let's go to the next point. Let's talk about, you have to have earned income. Right, so if you live off food stamps, then you can't claim this credit because you don't have any earned income. So follow the logic, right? Number one, you have to be working or looking for work. Number two, you have to have earned income, and so if you had some type of earned income, like a job, W-2 job, Uber driving or anything like that, that's considered earned income. Side gig where you got paid cash, that's considered earned income. So you can't show up and say, hey, I got child support and I'm gonna claim this child support income and I'm gonna get this credit. It doesn't work that way. It has to be verifiable earned income. Now, when you go into IOOGO Tax, when you enter your W-2, IOOGO Tax is already going to know that you have earned income. When you enter your child's credit, IOOGO Tax is already going to know that you have that you have a qualified child. And if you have the expenses, you simply enter those expenses very quickly, with no issue. So we're gonna get to the point here where sometimes we want to show you how it works, and let me make sure that Let me make sure that it's working. If not, I'm going to show you the picture of how it works. If I can put the software IOOGO tax on your screen or on my screen, then I'm going to show you how it works. It's actually very simple. There we go. I think it's going to work. I think you are in luck today. So it may work or it may not work. If not, I'm gonna show you the pendant information. So there we go, credits. We talked about credits, and that's the screen that we use with IOOGO Tax to help you enter all this information. Let's see. All right, it doesn't seem to be working with my screen today. I had to put my Mac into the. I had to send it in for repairs, so I may not be able to show you, but I'm showing you the screen. I'm going to show you the screen where IOOGO Tax. Whether you're doing it on the app or you're doing it on your actual computer, then you should be able to do this with no issues. So I think our thing went away. This week has been the challenge of having. There's Christy. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
See, we're real. For those people that ask if we're real, we are real. Christy, myself, Val, Jennifer. There's a bunch of us that work for IOOGO Tax, and we are a service and a technology company, and we want to help you out. We want to make sure that you know what you're doing. We want to make sure that you're using IOOGO Tax this year to file your taxes. So we're not gonna go any farther. We're gonna end it here. But I just wanted to show you how easy it is to do your own taxes. If you have dependent care expenses, you should go into IOOGO Tax, enter your personal information, enter your children's name, and then enter your earned income, and then you're going to enter your expenses, which is basically who did you pay, how much did you pay, and which one of your kids did you pay this for. So as simple as that, the system is going to calculate everything for you. All right, that's it. We're gonna get going because it's late and everyone wants to go watch Netflix and everyone wants to go eat dinner. So we'll be here tomorrow. Tomorrow we're gonna have another important topic, and we're going to next week we're gonna start talking about self-employed and small business. And we're gonna give you a little more. Hopefully I have my computer ready. It's fixed, and I can get it. I can show you how easy it is to enter the child tax credit or any other credit that we end up talking about that day. So all right, thank you so much. We'll see you later.